Pop-Tarts could be so symbolic. Hey everybody, welcome to Mainely Movies. As part of my coverage of the 2025 Sundance Film Festival, today I'm going to be talking about the 2025 dark comedy drama, Twinless, which will be released in theaters on September 5th. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for a variety of movie-related content, like reviews, rank lists, and recommendations. All my reviews include a breakdown of the pros and cons, my rating, and even some tailored film recommendations, so be sure to watch through to the end of this video for all of that extra content. Twinless stars Dylan O'Brien, James Sweeney, and Aisling Franciosi, and was directed by James Sweeney. It tells the story of two men who form a friendship after meeting at a support group for twinless twins. There's something so unique about a film that's both exactly what you expected it to be, and also somehow entirely different too. I mean, it's normal to come across a movie that's one or the other. A film that's just what you thought it'd be based on the trailer or a brief synopsis. Or the flip side, with a movie that leaves you feeling a bit misled because of how different the story or tone is from those expectation-setting promotional materials. But somehow managing to be both at the same time, that takes some skill in and of itself. But to deliver not only both what you expect and something very different from those expectations, but also to do so entertainingly in a way that leaves you more satisfied than if it had just delivered what you had anticipated, that's another trick altogether, and one that Twinless excelled at. It's no wonder this movie won both the Audience Award and Grand Jury Prize for the US Dramatic category at Sundance this year. And you know what? This film's dual expectation meeting and defying approach won me over too, because out of the 54 films I saw at Sundance this year, this was my favorite. As my favorite of the festival, you could probably correctly guess that there's a lot that I like about this movie. But let's start by talking about one of the most obvious components of any film, the story. It might actually be more accurate to say that we're gonna sort of talk about the story, because I don't want to give anything away here. As always, this is gonna be spoiler-free, so I'm gonna be vague and not talk about any specifics beyond the basic premise. This is definitely the kind of movie that benefits from not knowing the story direction ahead of time. That said, the trailer is mostly safe. It doesn't give away any story specifics, and while it may plant some idea possibilities in your head, there's a good chance that those ideas won't be right. Okay, so this film has a really unique premise, focusing on two men, Roman and Dennis, who meet at a support group for twinless twins, people whose twin siblings have died, thereby leaving them twinless. Roman and Dennis bond over their grief for their dead brothers, and find a sort of surrogate connection and comfort with one another, and the story follows along looking at that relationship. That's the exactly what you expected part of this film. That's what the logline and synopsis promises, that's what the trailer shows, and that's what a decent chunk of this movie truly is. But this film features a very late title card drop, at which point everything changes. The story and tone shift direction to something still related, but very different. It's a shift that won't work for everybody, but as much as I would have been perfectly happy with the film playing out as I had anticipated, this entirely unexpected change in direction made things even more interesting and compelling. The story and excellent script certainly had a big hand in contributing to this compelling nature, but we can't overlook the importance and impact of the performances here. A few side characters pop up every now and then, but this is mostly a two-man show. Dylan O'Brien turns in what is probably his career best performance here, which appropriately earned him the US Dramatic Special Jury Award for acting at Sundance this year. Performance, as in singular, might be slightly disingenuous phrasing, because O'Brien actually plays dual roles here as twins, Roman and Rocky. That may sound like a simple enough task, but despite their identical appearance, these two brothers couldn't be any more different from one another. They're truly two different characters, and O'Brien plays them both convincingly, and in a way that makes them easily distinguishable, even from just the way they carry themselves. He spends most of the film portraying Roman, the twinless twin who's spiraling following the death of his brother. And it's with this performance that O'Brien truly earned that acting award. He's funny in his depiction of Roman's personality, but he also injects so much emotion and pathos into the role, something that's really cemented during a memorable scene in which he delivers an emotional, long, single-take monologue. And then for the other half of this two-man show, we've got writer-director James Sweeney as Dennis, the other twinless twin who finds unexpected friendship and comfort with Roman. Dennis is very different from Roman. Snarky, self-deprecating, quick-witted, but equally broken, if not more so. There's definite emotion there with him, but a lot of the film's more comedic, jokey lines come from him as well. He's a character that can be a bit unlikable and runs the risk of being irritating at times, but there's a certain charm and compelling quality to him that keep you invested. Plus, Sweeney and O'Brien have very believable and strong chemistry with one another, which makes it easy to buy into the bond between Dennis and Roman. Looking at the synopsis, you can understand why this movie might have been a bit of a tough sell. I mean, who wants to watch a film about the agony of losing a twin? There's no doubt that this movie is emotional. Very emotional, in fact. But it's also an extremely funny movie, too. The tight screenplay expertly balances tone, so neither the humor nor the heartbreak ever overpower the film. The movie swings from jokey, quippy dialogue-based humor to ironically amusing situational comedy, some of which is very dark, to some extremely heavy emotional stuff, and back again. There are even some unexpectedly thrilling psychological elements that come into play that'll keep the audience on both their toes and the edges of their seats. It's a film about grief and loneliness, about guilt and the challenge of forgiveness, and about finding a way to keep going and move on with your life after something tragic happens. Really, this comedy drama has got a bit of a lot of things, but it seems like it's worth reiterating that this is a dark comedy drama, and not just in a haha, that joke was a little edgy kind of way. No, we're talking pitch black comedy. I mean, this movie gets dark in some ways that could kind of border on disturbing if it didn't have the humor to keep it from going over the edge. And yet, somehow, it all comes together in a way that's both highly entertaining and incredibly touching, even if you're an only child like me. Alright, let's talk about the pros and cons. Pro number one is definitely the screenplay. If it wasn't for another fantastic and Waldo Salt Screenwriting Award-winning film, this would have been my favorite screenplay of Sundance this year. But don't let that second place finish fool you. This is still one of the best written films of the year. The twinless twin bonding premise is a compelling one that turns even more interesting as the film shifts away from story expectations. In addition to the intrigue of that story, this film is also tonally well balanced, vacillating with ease between emotionally resonant drama and pitch black humor. Pro number two has got to be the performances. The well-written characters and sharp, witty dialogue are important contributing factors to this film's success, but without the right actors, it could have been a very different and much more mean-spirited movie. James Sweeney is a triple threat here, not only writing and directing the film, but also starring as Dennis. Dylan O'Brien also pulls double duty here, portraying dual roles as twins Roman and Rocky, whose personalities differ as much as their looks don't. The individual performances are great here, both funny and extremely emotional, but the chemistry between Sweeney and O'Brien is what elevates the film and carries it through all of its unexpected components. On the con side, my only issues are just minor nitpicks. There are some very minor characterization issues that hinder the strength of the storytelling a bit, especially with Dennis. The humor as a defense mechanism side to him is maybe played up just a bit more than it should, so he threatens to be a little too much at times. For me, he manages to walk a very thin line, but I think he'll fall to the annoyingly unlikable side for some people. Similarly, the film's shift in story direction does trend a bit towards the rug-pulling bait-and-switch side of things. I ended up being really intrigued by the direction the story went, but it was a little jarring in the moment, and I'd be lying if I said I didn't kinda wish we had been able to see the movie play out as it had started. Before I give you my rating recommendations, I want to remind you that if you're interested in buying Twinless or any of the other films I mentioned today, I do have affiliate links for all of them in the description below. I get a small commission from anything you buy using one of my links, so I'd really appreciate it if you'd use them if you're in the market for any of these movies or anything else. I'm gonna give Twinless 4.5 out of 5 paws. This is a definite contender for my favorite film of the year. It's a sharp comedy drama that's equal parts hilarious and heartbreaking in its exploration of grief and loneliness, with a compelling premise that quickly becomes even more interesting than expected, and a pair of fantastic performances. This emotional dark comedy hits on dual levels. I would recommend Twinless to anybody looking for a compelling dark comedy drama. It's very witty, with a fast-paced script and plenty of extremely dark humor, but this has got a full dose of emotion and heartbreak to it too, plus some intriguing thriller elements to keep the story unexpected and the audience on their toes. This is a film that makes some very bold choices with its story, so there will definitely be some people who dislike it because of those choices, but if you don't mind a movie morphing into something a bit different than what you expected, then I think there's a good chance that you might enjoy and appreciate this film as much as I do. If you liked Twinless, I would recommend Vertigo. A mysterious, dramatic thriller, this Alfred Hitchcock classic tells a twisty psychological story that keeps you guessing. There's no comedy here, dark or otherwise, but it's still a compelling story about a character who's haunted by his past and uses questionable methods to cope with it in the present. If you liked the writing here, you'll want to check out Sorry Baby. This is another Sundance dark comedy drama with a very well-written script and great performances. Starring, directed, and written by Ava Victor, this tells the story of a woman trying to cope with a traumatic incident and learn how to continue on and be a person again. And if you liked Dylan O'Brien's performance, you should watch Caddo Lake. This is another O'Brien film with a very unique premise and emotional themes about grief, loss, family, and unseen connections. Alright, a couple questions for you guys. Number 1, have you seen Twinless? If so, what'd you think of it? And number 2, what's your favorite movie about twins? Be sure to leave your answers in the comments below so we can get a discussion going. Alright, so if you got some enjoyment, insight, or information out of this review, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe here at it to see more videos like this. Till next time, this has been Alyssa with Mainely Movies, the way life should be.